Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So my name is Shannon. If you have not been here before, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. You guys know the drill with that. So today's video is one I have been waiting to film. I really wanted to try this palette out as much as possible. The palette I am talking about is the Huda Beauty Rose Gold Remaster palette. If you guys are familiar with Huda Beauty, you know that was the first palette that she came out with, was the Rose Gold palette. Recently, she actually re-released it as a remastered palette. There was some controversy with that, and we'll get into that in a moment. I am going to be doing a little try-on clip for you guys in this video if you want to see the look that I did today. And just overall, this is going to be mainly a review video, so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on the palette, then just keep watching. Alright guys, so I'm going to hop right into this video. I hope it's not too long for you guys. So I'm going to show you first the palette. So this is what the palette looks like. So it's very beautiful. It has kind of, like, her eyes kind of stick out, the shadow on the top, which is really cool. It's very reflective. It has the roses on it. It's beautiful. It is different, of course, than the original palette. I actually don't have that palette, so I'm just going to tell you that now. I can't compare this palette to that palette because I don't have both. But I love the packaging on this one, and from what I've heard, everyone seems to like the packaging on this one better. Now, it does come with a large mirror on the bottom, as you can see, and these are the shadows. Very similar to the original palette. I think the only ones that they switched out were these ones right here on this second row, and these are now all kind of metallic shadows. So I think that's like the main difference in the palettes, and of course she did say that the metallic finish shadows were supposed to be a lot easier to use. I know with the first palette, a lot of people really complained that the metallic shades were really hard to pick up on a brush, and people's biggest complaints were that they were kind of chunky and that they had to use their fingertips, and that there was some fallout with those shadows. So I can't speak to that because, like I said, I haven't tried that palette, but I can speak to what I think about the metallic shades in here and the claims that she made. So without getting into more details on the formula yet, I kind of want to talk to you about the little bit of controversy with this, which I totally understand. A lot of people said they weren't going to buy this for the fact that she put this palette out. It was supposed to be like an amazing palette. She put it out. It was a pretty good selling palette, like a pretty high selling palette, but it came with a lot of mixed reviews. There were some good reviews and some bad reviews, some really bad reviews. So it was kind of mixed, but a lot of people did enjoy the palette. But at some point she decided to say that they were no longer going to carry the first original palette. They were going to, once it sold out, that was going to be it, and you were never going to be able to get it again. So of course a lot of people that were interested went out and bought the palette just because they felt like they were never going to be able to get it. And a lot of people might, like myself, if you're a collector, sometimes you'll go and do that because you want to have it in your collection. I am happy I didn't buy it the first time now, but I do feel bad that a lot of people kind of almost got tricked by that, because this is an expensive palette. It's 85 Canadian, I believe it's 65 US. So this is really up there in price for people, and people don't want to go out and buy a palette and then have to re-buy a palette because you kind of made the formula better, if you know what I mean. And I'm going to get into the formula here in a moment, but I just wanted to touch on that because I know a lot of people might bring that up as well. I bought it because I didn't have it, but after this video you can kind of decide if you do have it, if you actually want to get it. But I just wanted to throw that in there. I do kind of agree that it was kind of a shady thing to do, but I don't know if it was intentional. I really don't know, but you kind of get the feeling that she knew in advance when she said it was going out of stock and would never come back. They were already working on this formula. So that's the thing that makes it kind of, I think, hard for people to accept. But that's all I'm going to say on that. I just wanted to touch on that and kind of give you my feelings on it. But yeah, if you guys want to see a demo, I'm actually going to insert a try-on clip here for you guys, and just kind of show you me applying some of these shades.
Alright guys, so we're going to jump in with the shade D'Amour. And I'm just going to put that all over my crease. I'm using a Real Techniques brush. So we're just going to fluff that in and build up the color. You can see that these shadows apply really well. They blend super easily. I never had any issues with any of the matte shades. So once you have that color built up to where you would like it, we're going to go in with the next shade in the palette that I'm using. So the next shade we're going to go in with is the shade Doll Face, which is kind of like the bright pink shade in the palette. I really love this shade. It's really pigmented. You only need to put a little bit on your brush. You can build it up easily. It blends out well. It's just beautiful. So I'm going to keep building that up, and then I'm going to go in with the shade Risque, which this shade is kind of more of a plummy shade, definitely like a plum purple shade. Now with this shade, I am going to work it into the crease as well as the outer V to just kind of define that area. This shade is beautiful as well. I had no issues with it, and I really like the kind of color scheme so far in this palette, and I love these shades all together. Now I'm just using an AOA brush. It's really inexpensive. I purchased it from Shop Misa or Shop Miss A, whatever you'd like to call it. Next, I'm going to go in with the shimmer shade, and it's called Pink Diamond. This is one of my favorite shades. I'm just using a Royal & Lang nickel brush. It's a smudger brush, but I do find this brush is pretty densely packed, and it works well for packing on the color with this palette for most of the shades. It is pretty difficult to use a brush. You'll see here in a moment that I'm going to switch to my finger. That's the best way really to get a super metallic finish. So I'm going to add that all over the lid. And then I do go in as well with the rose gold shade that's right beside that. It's a little bit of a deeper pink shade. Lastly, I'm going to go in with the shade Moon Dust. I love this one. And I'm going to put this on the inner corners to kind of brighten those up. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put that on the brow bone to highlight that area. I love this shade, guys. It's really good.
Alright guys, so after that demo, you guys probably missed, I did use a few shades on my bottom lash line. It was just the shades I put into my crease. I thought I'd let you know because I didn't show it in that clip. So I used these shades Demore, Doll Face, and Risque. These three shades right here, which I used obviously in the try-on clip into my crease. So I just smoked those out on the lower lash line. So I really want to get into the formula on this palette, the formulas that are in here, and what my thoughts on those for you guys. So let's hop right into kind of talking about these shades. So as I said, there's 18 shades. You have a row on the bottom of metallics. This one here has 3 different shades that were in the original palette. So it has Bubbly, Moon Dust, and Blessed. So these I believe are the new shades to the palette, and then they have 3 mattes, and then the bottom is 6 more mattes. So there's a total of 8 mattes in the palette, a total of a formula she calls 8 melted metals. She calls the black one a separate formula, a wet and dry black, which it does work either way. You can wet it or use it dry. I feel like most black shadows I can do that, so I didn't think that was like a huge plus, but she considers that a different formula. And then this one down here is called Moon Dust, and I did touch on this one briefly, but this one is a highlighting pearl. She calls it a highlighting pearl, and this one is stunning. I have this on my inner corner. I have this on my brow bone. I'm going to talk about this one first. I used it as a highlighter today. Like, it is absolutely beautiful. I really think she should have used more of this shade like formula in her palette, because this can be easily picked up with a brush, with your finger. It just looks absolutely stunning, and you would have seen that in the try-on clip. But I love this freaking shade, and I wish she had put this formula in more of her shadows. Now, if she does come out with another palette, which I know she will, I definitely think she should use this formula more because it's really good. Now, I'm going to talk about these 2 shades, Bubbly and Blessed. I love the shades. I think they're beautiful. This one's more of a bronze shade. This one is more of like a beautiful like champagne metallic shade. Now, these 2 shades here, 24 Karat Gold, Trust Fund Fling, and Fling actually. These shades up here, I know they're all supposed to be melted metals, but these shades to me seem more of a smooth formula. And these shades here, Pink Diamond, Rose Gold, and Dubai, seem like they have more of a grit, like more of a glitter aspect to them. And I actually find the ones that do have a little bit more of that apply better with a brush. You did see me apply Pink Diamond on my lid with the brush, and I applied Rose Gold with my finger, because I actually switched to a finger on this because your finger works the best for these. It still does. I don't agree with the fact that she's trying to say that these apply the same. They don't. They apply best with the finger. You're going to get the most metallic payoff with your fingers. So I have to say that right away. But I do think these shades in particular that I talked about can be applied with a really densely packed brush. Now I use a densely packed smudger brush, and that's the best brush I found to apply. The one I used was just a Royal & Langnickel brush. I think I had actually got it in a BoxyCharm or an Ipsy or something like that, and that brush really packed on the color pretty good. So definitely use a very densely packed smaller brush for these more glittery shades. These smooth shades are really hard to apply. In particular, Trust Fund is probably my least favorite in the palette. Like, it's so disappointing because it's a beautiful shade, but like if you just touch it, barely anything comes off. You really have to dig into this. It almost feels wet, but like you don't get that payoff. Like you dig into it, and I mean, okay, so it does apply. That's the swatch, but it's nothing crazy. Like you expect it to be super blinding, and it's just not that blinding. So I'm not really a huge fan of this one. It does apply, like you have to really dig your finger in, but when you put on your lid, you can't just tap it. Like you have to almost push into your lid and pull it, which I personally don't like pulling on my eyes, and you have other shadows on, so it would be really hard to get a precise look with this one. So that's my big issue, and this is probably my least favorite shade in the palette, even though it is beautiful in pan. I do find with these other shades similar. You have to apply them with the finger. You really have to kind of go in there and kind of like really push them in on your eyes. So I don't think they applied the easiest. So I'll go in with this shade. This is 24 karat, so you really, as you can see, I'm rubbing in there. So that shade looks like that, so it looks a little bit better. And this one applies like a little bit better, so you can see that one right there. But it's still not as blinding as you kind of expect when you've seen her talk about these. But these shades here apply really well, so that's the rose gold shade. So this one's kind of more like a topper, but I used this today and it was beautiful. So, so pretty. So that's the shade on the end. Really beautiful shade. So yeah, I do like these kind of shades here. And like I said, I have the pink diamond. This is one of my favorite shades for the metallics, as well as obviously Moon Dust, which is a different formula. But talking about this metal formula, this is my favorite, the pink diamond one. I did wear Fling the other day. You can wear this one as well. And the shade Dubai applies pretty good as well, but my least favorite would be Trust Fund. Blessed, very similar in application, and Bubbly, very similar application to 24 karat, as well as Fling. So I don't know, guys. I have to say, because where she did say that she was improving that particular formula, it's kind of disappointing that they aren't better. I don't know how the first ones performed, but I don't think these perform as good as they should. I do love this palette, don't get me wrong. I will use this a ton. I can work with it. But it is a harder palette to work with as far as the metallics. You are a little bit limited because not all of them perform the same. Now, I will say, if you read the back of this palette, one thing that she does write on here, she has dab the melted metals on your lids for a high shine foil finish. Even wet, you can't really dab these on, so I don't really agree with that. You really have to push these in, not dab. Layer an extra coat using your fingers for an extreme metallic effect. So to get that extreme metallic effect, she is still saying you have to use your fingers. So I don't feel like she portrayed that very well when she released this palette. It was kind of like, you can use either your brush or your fingers for a really metallic look. But if you read the back of the palette, it does kind of suggest using your fingers. And honestly, I think that's the best way to go still for these metallics. Now, one of the reasons that didn't deter me personally from buying is because I generally apply metallics with my finger. I find any metallic applies better with your finger. But there are obviously metallics out there that apply pretty good with a brush as well. These just aren't one of them. So to me, it wasn't a big deal, but I will say I am still a little disappointed with how the metallics perform. but I do still really like the palette. Now, would I recommend, the big question is, would I recommend this palette to you if you have the first? I wouldn't. I don't think it's necessary for you to go out and buy this palette unless you are a collector and someone that's like obsessed with makeup and just wants it in your collection, or you collect Huda palettes. Don't go out and get it. You don't need it if you already had it. If you didn't already have the palette, I would still recommend it because I do like the palette and I think the friggin' mattes in here are bomb. That highlighting shade is gorgeous, and some of those shades in there that are like the melted metals, like I said, some of the more glittery ones, like the ones I wore today, apply pretty easily. It's just kind of these smoother ones that don't apply as easily. Now, you can get a pretty look with them. You just really have to pack them on your eyes. But like I said, I would recommend it. I just wouldn't recommend it if you already have the first palette. Alright guys, so that is going to do it for this video. We came finally to the end of the video. I hope you kind of enjoyed it. I hope I gave you enough information and just giving you kind of my thoughts. It was pretty in-depth. This is probably a pretty long video, but I just wanted to really fill you guys in on all the formulas in the palette and my thoughts, because I feel like a lot of reviews came out really quickly on the palette and a lot of looks, but you really need, when you're testing a palette, to try all the shades, because a lot of times, even when someone says a formula is the same, the shadows still perform a bit differently, and I really wanted to kind of go in depth with you if you were thinking about purchasing this palette, because it is expensive and it has been out before. This is just a remastered version, so I thought it was really important for this palette. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like the video, make sure you do give me a thumbs up. It really does help. Hit that subscribe button down below. Leave me a comment. Also, if you don't want to miss out on my videos, because I know YouTube is doing some wonky shit lately, make sure that you actually hit the notification bell, and that way you will get a notification when I do post a video. I don't have like an inset posting schedule right now, which you guys already know if you're subscribed to me. Maybe someday, but not at the moment. It's just not in the cards for me. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.